A slew of mining news for you. Bitfarms mining slightly fewer Bitcoin in November as mining difficulty increased. Meanwhile, Bitcoin miner Greenidge Generation is offering additional $35 million in corporate bonds to raise money for capital expenditures and acquisitions, among other purposes. And speaking of acquisitions, Bitcoin miner RIOT blockchain buying electrical equipment provider ESS Metron for $50 million. Joining us now to discuss all the mining news is Jason Les, CEO of RIOT Blockchain. Hello there, Jason. Thanks for coming to the show. So first of all, let's touch a bit about mining difficulty, coming back to levels before the China mining crackdown came down. Are we back to where we were before the crackdown?
I think we're pretty close, if not there, about to be there. It's a pretty interesting dynamic that took place over this year as the price of Bitcoin is going up and there's so much mining hardware being accumulated and deployed. Suddenly, we see a massive difficulty and drop following the exodus of mining from China in the middle of this year at the start of the summer. That was a very fortuitous event for those who were unaffected by the ban, who were essentially operating as usual, and half of their competition in mining just went off the earth. But markets are efficient, miners are chasing opportunities, and we've seen a reallocation of hash rate around the globe, and we have difficulty back to where it was before, close to back to where it was before, and probably going to continue on an upward trajectory for some time.
You talk about miners seizing the opportunity. So RIOT Blockchain, of course, is not, holding back. You're making a couple of new acquisitions, buying some miners. I see electrical equipment. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. Today we announced the acquisition of ESS Metron, a company that engineers and produces electrical components, low voltage, medium voltage, switchgear, power distribution units, a whole host of products. And this acquisition came about because ESS Metron is one of the primary vendors to Whinstone. Whinstone is the massive Bitcoin mining facility that RIOT owns out in Rockdale, Texas. They helped build Whinstone to 300 megawatts, making it the single largest Bitcoin mining facility in North America by that developed capacity. And we are initiated a 400 megawatt expansion plan, actually taking that site to 700 megawatts. And ESS Metron has been a key partner to that growth. So with this acquisition, we're taking greater control of our supply chain. We're helping reduce the cost of build outs. We're having more visibility into our supply chain and having better positioning ourselves to secure materials. And we're bringing this engineering talent in-house. Bitcoin mining is full of innovation. Everyone, they hear about the miners, they hear about deploying miners, but what doesn't get as much attention is that underlying electrical infrastructure that goes to power all of that. That's very important. And procuring those materials is challenging, just like miners are. So this acquisition is very important to us to help secure our supply chain for our future growth and bring talent in-house to continue to innovate new solutions for making Bitcoin mining efficient as possible.
How are you continuing to address the concerns around environmental impact of these miners, data process centers that consume a lot of energy?
So we operate, right now operates these facilities in two locations. We have a hosting agreement with CoinMint in upstate New York. They utilize some stranded renewable generation power up there, about 90% hydroelectric power. We're operating out in Texas with Whinstone, which is the focus of our operations going forward. And Texas has an abundance of solar and wind generation in its grid. So Bitcoin miners, people might not be aware, use more renewable energy on average than any other major industry. And that's because Bitcoin miners are out there as the buyers of energy of last resort, but also with the flexibility to shut off at different times. We operate out of Texas and we buy that energy 24/7. Bitcoin mining is a 24/7 business. And we believe that we help capitalize renewable generation projects who are otherwise selling power into that grid when demand is low. And that's a problem. That's an inefficiency in the market that Bitcoin mining helps solve. And on the other token, we have the ability to shut off at any time. Bitcoin mining is not like a traditional data center requiring 24/7, 365 uptime. The amount of work that you do is just as long as the last block that you found or the next block that you're working on. Those are 10 minutes apart. So we are a ally, we are a good corporate citizen in that Texas ERCOT grid because we have the flexibility to shut down and provide power back to the grid when it is in very high demand. And because of that, that's why, because we have that flexibility, I think is why power companies, power operators in Texas, politicians in Texas like the idea of Bitcoin mining coming there, and they're supportive of companies like RIOT who are initiating growth in that sector.
Finally, Jason, are you selling any Bitcoin to make this acquisition, or are you in accumulation phase?
No, we're not. We did not sell Bitcoin to make this acquisition. It was paid off of our balance sheet. RIOT recently completed a at-the-market offering program over the past 2 or 3 months, where we raised approximately $600 million net of underwriting fees. But we have a strong balance sheet right now, and this was funded half in cash and then the remaining portion with RIOT common stock.